if I am to hand over you a book which is written in Tamil, what is the feeling that you get? I mean, people in the north, you can be easily labeled as an illiterate. This is exactly what happened with the entire world when the colonizers imposed English language. This particular geography, which had more than 85% of world literacy, suddenly overnight turning illiterate. So the only three corridors which are going to run the geoeconomics of the world, the IMEC corridor, the INSTC which is built via Chabar port of Iran, and the Chennai-Vladivostok corridor. And with the regional integration, it is not far. It is not far if you see a China, Russia, India gas pipeline as well.
We are deeply honored to have Sri Vinay Prabhakar Sahasrabudhe as a chief guest for this inaugural session. I have had the privilege of knowing him, esteemed Vinay ji, since 2010, when I first met him at his residence. Later, I had the opportunity to interact with him as a Rambhau Mahaligi Prabodhini, and I have been an ardent admirer of his intellects, works, and administrative acumen ever since. It is truly an honor to have him with us today. It is also a great privilege to acknowledge the presence of my co-author of this edition as well as the previous edition. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Vijay Kranti ji, Sri Deepak Bora ji, Sri Pradeep Kapoor, Dr. Ankit, Dr. Nalin, Dr. Ankush ji, Dr. Sumita Mukherjee, and all those who have contributed, including Professor Vinit Nair, Venus Upadhyay ji, and Dr. Satparshi ji.
Namaskar to everybody, and a very special welcome to Vinay Sahasrabudhe ji, who is a very old friend and one of those individuals who has made a very remarkable contribution to understanding of various prominent issues related to India among various institutions and thought leaders. The Prabodhini he has been heading has made remarkable contribution in this field. So welcome, Vinay ji. My other old friend, Deepak Bora, with whom I share my relations with Delhi University in the same years. He was one of the most dynamic leaders, student leaders, and that too in a college which was known for a very different reason, St. Stephen's College. And he became the president of the union while fighting all those. In those days, they were very prominent because of their violence and their dominance, the Naxalites. And he was the only president of Students' Union all across Delhi University who had the courage to take on them. And he paid for it also. So, welcome. So, we have Dr. Ankit Shah. Dr. Ankit Shah is a fellow chartered accountant and a qualified company secretary and is an author. So, we have the privilege of having him with us as a co-author. So, welcome, Dr. Ankit. Then Professor Vinit Naik. He is a very well-known professor of finance in Mumbai and a company secretary also. And he has made many contributions as a devout Bharat Bhakt and a student of Acharya Chanakya's Earth and Niti Shastra. That is what he is known for. So welcome, sir. Mr. Siddharth, Professor Siddharth, is a very unique personality. I have known him through my very senior and a very respected friend, Bharat Bhushan Vohra ji, who is luckily here today, a retired IPS officer, retired Director General, and a very, very accomplished writer. Besides being a very prominent police officer, he is well known for his writings, for his books, and many times I had to ask him whether he's a police officer or a writer. So he introduced me to Professor Siddharth, and Siddharth ji, his contribution to the overall national thinking process is unique. He is a man who has held hand of so many innumerable youths and taken them to such prominent places in their life. I think all of them have their good wishes for him. Unfortunately, he has suffered a health setback recently, which has affected his speech. So we all pray that he gets over this problem very soon, and his contribution to the national thinking process continues as it is. And he is also the Sutradhar of today's book and the whole event. So thank you, Siddharth-ji. So now we have our speakers. So let us start with Ambassador Deepak Vohra.
थैंक यू वेरी मच, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. थैंक यू विजय क्रांति जी. मैं अपना परिचय खुद दे देता हूं सर. मेरा नाम दीपक है, मैं भारत का राजदूत हूं. बौद्ध धर्म से मेरा संबंध है और हम अपने आप से झूठ नहीं बोलते. तो मेरी दो सच्चाइयां हैं. एक 73 साल की मेरी उम्र है, दूसरा मैं अभी बहुत हैंडसम हूं. ताली बजाइए इसके लिए. 6 देशों में भारत का राजदूत रह चुका हूं. अब आपसे ये बात करनी है. ये शब्द हम यूज कर रहे हैं, जियो पॉलिटिक्स. तो मैंने जियो पॉलिटिक्स के बारे में सुना है, जियो इकोनॉमिक्स के बारे में सुना है, जियो स्ट्रेटेजी के बारे में सुना है. आपसे बस इतना बांटना चाहता हूं कि दुनिया हमारी कैसे बदल रही है. मैंने 1973 में भारतीय विदेश सेवा में मैंने कदम रखा था पहला, और मैंने क्या देखा है. दूसरे विश्व युद्ध में 2 महाशक्तियां एक तरफ लड़ रही थी मेरे आपके दादा हिटलर जी के साथ. एक था सोवियत संघ, दूसरा था यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स. और जैसे ही जंग खत्म हुआ वो जानी दुश्मन बन गए. ये है जियो रियलिज्म. फिर लड़ते रहे एक दूसरे से, कोल्ड वॉर चली. फिर एक टाइम आया, बहुत मजेदार टाइम. सोवियत संघ ने कहा कि नेटो में हमको शामिल कर दीजिए. दिस इज ऑल नाउ, ये सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स पब्लिक हैं कि हम नेटो आना चाहते हैं. नेटो वाले बोले पागल है, चुप करके बैठ जा. फिर वॉर्सो पैक्ट शुरू हो गया, आपस में उनका जंग होता रहा. फिर ये और जियो स्ट्रैटेजी हो गई. फिर 1991 में सोवियत संघ चला गया जहां उसको जाना था, वहां ऊपर. और फिर जो रशिया उसका सक्सेसर था, उसने कहा भाई टाइगर लोग, मुझे यूरोपियन यूनियन और नेटो में शामिल करो. सबने बोला भाई भाग जा, चाय पी जाके. फिर उसके बाद आप जानते हैं क्या हुआ. तो सारी दुनिया जो मैंने देखी थी, जो मेरे लेक्चर दिए थे मेरे टीचर्स ने, वो बिल्कुल बदल गई है. अब आज के दिन बड़े ध्यान से सुनिएगा प्रोफेसर साहब, 41 जंग चल रहे हैं हमारी दुनिया में, 41. और मेरी दादी की दादी है, एक न्यूयॉर्क में रहती है, वो 80 साल की हो जाएगी. उसका नाम है यूनाइटेड, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, यूनाइटेड, हाँ वो डिसयूनाइटेड नेशन. अभी जिंदा है कि मर गई है? अच्छा, अगले साल 80 साल की हो जाएगी. वो सुबह उठती है, चाय पीती है, भाषण देती है, लंच खाती है, शराब पीती है, सो जाती है फिर से. वो गाजा में जो हो रहा है बड़े बड़े भाषण होते हैं, वो यूक्रेन में जो हो रहा है बड़े बड़े भाषण होते हैं, साहिल में जो हो रहा है भाषण होते हैं, अफगानिस्तान में जो हो रहा है भाषण, आगे कुछ नहीं होता. सो टुडे हम लोग एक ऐसे दौर पे हैं जहां पर प्रोफेसर साहब केवल एक देश दुनिया को बता सकता है शांति का रास्ता. किसी जमाने में उस देश को इंडिया कहते थे, आज भारत कहते हैं उसको. एंड फाइनली मैं इतना ही कहूंगा आपसे कि ये जो पुस्तक है जो मैंने, जिसमें मैंने कंट्रीब्यूट किया है, मेरा प्रोत्साहन आपने तो दिया है. वो मैं रामायण में गया था और मैंने वो देखा कि जब दुनिया के सबसे बड़े जासूस का नाम था हनुमान. सर वो आपके भी अंकल थे. आप उतने बड़े जासूस नहीं थे जितने वो थे. आप तो पुलिस के डीजी थे और आईबी में थे. तो उन्होंने पता लगाया अपने स्रोतों से कि भाई वो सीता माँ को कहाँ ले गए. बोला एक छोटे से द्वीप में उसको बिठा रखा है. तो वहां पहुंच गए रामेश्वरम. अब जाए कैसे? 300 किलोमीटर, 100 कोस दूर जाना था. कोई जहाज नहीं था, कोई शिप नहीं थी, कोई ट्रेन नहीं थी. तो फिर भालुओं का जो सरताज था जामवन उनके पास आया. बोला हनुमान तू याद कर तेरे टीचर्स ने तुझे क्या सिखाया था, तेरी आर्थिक शक्ति, तेरी मानसिक शक्ति, तेरी फिजिकल शक्ति, याद कर उसको, तेरा डिसिप्लिन, तेरा अनुशासन याद कर। और भगवान श्री हनुमान ने याद किया और एक छलांग लगा के वहां पहुंच गए, और क्योंकि जासूस थे सीता मां को ढूंढ लिया और वापस आ गए। तो आज हमारे देश में हम सब के दिलों में जामवन है, हमने अपनी ताकत याद कर ली है, और ये नई जियो स्ट्रेटेजी है। अगर कोई देश है, अरब देश हमसे क्या कहते हैं सर, म्यूनिक सिक्योरिटी कॉन्फ्रेंस में सुनिएगा, कहते हैं जी अमेरिका तो पिट के भाग गया, ये अरब देश कह रहे हैं। अफगानिस्तान में पिटाई हुई ना तो भाग गया, अब रूस बड़ा बिजी है यूक्रेन में, चीन पे कोई भरोसा नहीं करता, कहते हैं अब एक ही महाशक्ति बची है जो हमें सिक्योरिटी दे सकती है, उसका नाम भारत है। मैंने कहा ताली बजाओ, भारत है। सो दीज आर द चेंजेस जो हम देख रहे हैं। और आज इस उम्र में मेरा कद 6 फुट 2 इंच का है, लेकिन भारत की मैं छवि देखता हूं तो फिर मैं सरकार से कहता हूं मुझे पैसे दो, नई पतलून खरीदनी है, मेरा कद 6 फुट 8 इंच का हो गया है। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच। मैं आज देख रहा हूं भारत उभर रहा है, और सर इस किताब में पूरा कुछ भारत के बारे में है। द न्यू वर्ल्ड, नई दुनिया, भारत की दुनिया है। थैंक यू वेरी मच, आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जोर से ताली बजाओ, मुझे अच्छा लगेगा।
Thank you, Deepak. As I promised you that Deepak is capable of saying a lot in a few words, and he said it very rightly. Thank you, Deepak, very much.
थैंक यू, आपसे सीखा।
Now I think we should go for, क्योंकि विनय जी का अपना आगे का कार्यक्रम है, विनय जी अपना मूल्यवान समय में निकाल कर यहाँ आए हैं, तो हम उनसे आग्रह करेंगे कि पुस्तक का विमोचन वो करें। So now may I request Vinay ji to please share his words of wisdom with all of us on this occasion. Vinay ji, please.
A very good evening to all of you over here. The person for whom in a way we have all come together over here, Professor K. Siddharth, who is so immensely popular amongst his students and his colleagues as well. Besides him, all the other dignitaries sitting on the dais, especially Ambassador Deepak Vora ji, my very good old friend Vijay Kranti ji, many dignitaries who are sitting in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by congratulating Professor Siddharth. Even though he is facing so many health-related issues, he didn't allow his resolve to complete this anthology of articles dampen in any way. And once he decides to do certain things, then he completes them. He is a real teacher, and I would say he is a living embodiment of the Indian concept of guru. And he is a guru to many people who are sitting on the dais and off the dais. And therefore, I must extend my hearty congratulations to Professor Siddharth, and also salute his determination to complete this project. Coming to the subject, geopolitics redefined, let me confess that I am not a student of international relations as such. I am a student of political science, English literature, but this particular subject was never a part of my studies. But still, whatever insights I could gather while working as the President, Indian Council for Cultural Relations, I have realized that perhaps, and if I could say so in the context of this book as well, that although the title is about geopolitics, my humble submission is that today's geopolitics is also, in a way, influenced by geocultural issues. Because culture is going to be the central force to influence how the world deals with several challenges that the global community is facing. And perhaps no other country than India can show the path in such a situation. When Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as Prime Minister, visited the United Nations for the first time in 2014 for the UN General Assembly meeting, he said it very openly, very clearly, in a way very bluntly. He said that I am new to the international politics. For the first time, I am coming to the United Nations. And having come over here, I got to know that there are many groupings. Some people say we are members of G7, some say we are G20, some say we are G70. But he said, I fail to understand that why, on certain subjects which are haunting the entire humanity, there could be a G all, and I think only an Indian Prime Minister can say so, that let us talk in terms of G all. Because that is the crying need of the hour. And India, and not simply from the jingoistic perspective I am saying this, but if we delve deep into the cultural heritage that India possesses and that India can offer to the global community, I believe we all would realize that India has the onerous responsibility of showing the way to the global community. And there are at least 5 principal points which are aspects of Indian culture which make me believe that only we can perhaps show the path. For example, today, whether it is the crisis in the Middle East or in Europe, the issue is about identity and who is superior than whom. And in this context, I believe India alone can show the path because we have always believed in Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. We never said that ours is the only path. We never said that my way or highway. We never believed in any kind of monopolism, perhaps not even hegemonism. We believed Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, which is our idea of spiritual democracy. And it is the spiritual democracy which eventually will have the last laugh. Because if one particular belief system believes that we are the only valid system and others are invalid, I am sure the global community is going to face innumerable challenges. And therefore, India shows the path, which is that of spiritual democracy, which is very well defined through Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. The second point is about our tradition of worshipping Mother Nature. Many of us and many traditional families, and especially the elder one in those families, start their day by seeking forgiveness of Mother Earth. Padasparsham kshamasvame is what we say. That is our idea of sustainability. The global community started thinking about sustainability maybe some 30 years before, and now the United Nations is talking about sustainable development goals. But sustainability was our prime concern, and we never talked about conquest over nature. We never said what we look for is confluence with nature. And if we go by this idea of confluence with nature, I think there would not be any conflict, and we can all take the path of sustainability. And therefore, that is the second important thing why I believe India alone can show the way to a confused global community. The third one, and this is very rampantly seen especially in the Western countries, where we come across a kind of a tug of war between extreme individualism and extreme kind of socialism or community life. And we know what happened in the ex-USSR and how many countries then liberated from the USSR. But they are also facing the challenge how to deal with ultra-individualistic tendencies. And I think here again, India shows the way. Because our family system shows how do we balance between individualism and collectivism, if I may put it that way. Look at our family system. In our country, we don't have just uncles and aunts. we have chachi, mami, fufi. We don't have just cousins. We have a chachera bhai, a mamera. Every other individual relationship is identified and recognized with a specific title because we respect that relationship. And therefore, with that kind of an approach, we know the importance of individualism, but not at the cost of collectivism. We definitely regard the importance of individuality, individual relations, but that too within the umbrella of family. And therefore, this is the third important reason why I believe India alone can perhaps show the way. The fourth one, again, it is about our families, and globally we find how wokeism is dominating the global narrative for that matter. And there is some kind of a height of confusion that is being seen, especially in countries like USA and even in Europe for that matter. And people are talking about gender fluidity and all those kinds of very weird ideas in a way. Gender issues are important, no doubt about it. And we are for all gender equality. And there again, India shows the way with the model, with the ideal in a way of Ardhanari Nateshwar. If we believe that in every individual there is some feminine element and some masculine element, and both the elements peacefully coexist in an individual, no matter whether he is considered as man or she is considered as a woman. If we recognize that, there of course is no question of any conflict or any superiority or inferiority of any particular gender. And therefore, gender equality in a way is inbuilt in our cultural ethos. And if we appreciate this fact, then I believe all these wokeism related ideas also don't stand any relevance. And in that context, again, I believe Indian culture perhaps has the ability to provide answers to the questions that the global community finds itself in the midst of. Lastly, our idea of Antyodaya. Even today, many countries believe that socialism is the only way. And there are other countries who believe that capitalism is the only way. Whereas we believe in Antyodaya, which is the most deprived should be considered as the most deserving when it comes to the distribution of the fruits of development. And that is the golden mean. That is the balance that we have been able to strike between ultra-capitalistic ideas and ultra-socialistic ideas. I believe global community would appreciate the importance of Indian philosophy, Indian worldview, and in that context, if we are able to communicate to the global community what India is all about. See, India is not just a map, a part of the map of Committee of Nations in the world. India is a living organism. India is a civilizational country. And therefore, India has to remain India. I would say that in the changing geopolitical realities, if global community has to remain a family as what we believe in through the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. In fact, I realize that in the scriptures, we say Kutumbakam. We don't say Gruham. We don't say Samajam. We say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam because Kutumba or family is the fundamental unit of society. And therefore, if the global community, if the global family has to remain family, India has to remain India. And that is not something which is a given thing. Let me therefore underscore the fact that with these kinds of books, if we are able to spread awareness of about this fact that India has to remain India, if global family has to remain a global family. The responsibility certainly is on our shoulders as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vinayji. What we always expect from a thinker, he delivered it. A very crisp and a very clear introduction of what India stands for, what Indian thought stands for, and what Indian society stands for. So thank you very much, Vinayji, for sharing these thoughts with us. And now I come to our friend, Dr. Ankit Shah. Dr. Ankit Shah, he's a man with very interesting concepts who has studied many subjects very seriously, and especially he is considered to be the concept man of the upcoming Sanatan economics model. And his writings and his predictions have been taken quite seriously. A few examples, I can share with you on issues like happening of Doklam, nullification of Article 370 and 35A, and issues related to standoff with China, Pakistan. These issues he has been writing quite seriously, and his writings have been taken very seriously.
This is the third book on geopolitics where I have participated, contributed something from my end. And as you've been knowing that I've been speaking a lot on what changes are happening in the geoeconomics of this world, the kind of world that we are heading towards through this decade. Massive changes expected. Some of them very painful changes, to be precise, because what we are witnessing through this decade, by 2030, the way we were living our lives is going to see a big change. Because through this decade, we are going to witness 400 years of cycle of single country reserve currency ending. And what do you mean by 400 years of cycle of single country reserve currency ending? That means everything that the colonizers systemized in this world, the lifestyle that we've been living, is going to take a big turn. So if you go 400 years back, what were the changes which were initiated by the colonizers? The first big change was imposition of English language. Now all of a sudden, if I am to hand over you a book which is written in Tamil, what is the feeling that you get? I mean, people in the north, you can be easily labeled as an illiterate. This is exactly what happened with the entire world when the colonizers imposed English language. This particular geography, which had more than 85% of world literacy, suddenly overnight turning illiterate. The Britishers come up with an organized slavery scheme. So the slaves which were sold in open markets, chained, showcased and sold by auction, they devised a classroom format for it. They ensured that any human being that enters that four walls, after wasting 15-20 years of his life, comes out totally blank. And when that person comes out totally blank, you do an organized human trafficking of that person to companies. So when Adam Smith comes with his capitalism, He says, I want to do division of labor, benefits of division of labor, and economies of scale. So the whole world, which was operating with an entrepreneurship model, a family-based entrepreneurship model, was told that finish off all the varieties of products that you make. I'm going to customize and make only one kind of a design. You lose your entrepreneurship. Whatever savings and wealth that you have, hand it over to me. I'm going to put up a factory, and then you are going to become my jobbers. With this Adam Smith capitalism, 90% wealth of the people went into the hands of 5% people. This is extreme capitalism. And when that level of exploitation happened with the society, with that 18th century industrialization, Karl Marx was born and he's saying, now I want things for free. So, while politicians come and declare that I'm going to give this thing for free, that thing for free, so obviously the voters who are actual wealth creators, they feel the pinch, they don't like it. You had the budget recently and there were comments, why should freebies be given? But then with that kind of Adam Smith capitalism, when you are exploiting the society so much, Karl Marx will be born and they'll be asking things for free. So in this British classroom format, they ensured that feminization of men happens. And when I say feminization of men, they devised a memory testing for 3 hours as an exam, which has no repercussion in the real market outside. So in this feminization of men process, the entrepreneurship was destroyed. Once the entrepreneurship was destroyed and the job model was established, obviously somebody who is a human being who is in control for 10 hours under some boss, employer, when he gets free out of that 10 hours of work, he wants to taste some kind of freedom. So the behavior that the men did before going to office and the behavior that the men did at home after coming from office, that was showcased to women as as empowerment. This is how women also were dragged to jobs. Once this entire, and this is the recent budget has come, if you read the economic survey, beautifully drafted, whoever is drafting it, I do not know, beautifully drafted. The economic survey is saying that the profits of the companies quadrupled, the salaries didn't. So if my savings as a society is going to be handed over to few companies via stocks, and then you are also not going to give me jobs, and these few families are going to have extravagant expenditure, then I think somewhere down the line, as our chief guest rightly pointed out, we have to start thinking on family unit entrepreneurship. Because if I am going to not even get jobs and I'm going to park my savings in companies which are not even ready to give jobs, tomorrow they will deploy technology and remove the number of jobs as well, then why am I buying their products? Why should I buy their products? So Adam Smith's capitalism, which has resulted into this kind of exploitation of society, which was empowered, by the way, by the single country reserve currency, pound and dollar, for the last 400 years, that has to take a turn with a de-dollarization process which has started. And what that goes to show is that very soon the British classroom format is going to be questioned. They are going to be questioned if there are no enough jobs. Why are you wasting my 15 to 20 years within these 4 walls? And as soon as that British classroom format is going to be questioned, The immediate idea that is going to come is that why not I buy products with my neighbor? Why shouldn't I buy his product rather than buying product of some company which is not even going to give me jobs? So this entire individualism wave, which was done by fooling citizens, by breaking their entrepreneurship corpus and diverting that money to stocks, by telling parents that the product which comes out from this classroom after 20 years of investment is so dumb that you have to park your savings in stocks. You don't want to invest in your own son and daughter as seed fund to start some entrepreneurship. What that goes to show is that this reversal with de-dollarization is going to revive the family unit entrepreneurship back. Which means some of the predictions that I've given post 2030, you are going to see a collapse, a literal collapse of what I call as the fiat dollar cities. California, New York, Chicago, London, Paris, Berlin, Sydney, Toronto, all those fiat dollar cities which were built by breaking family entrepreneurship corpus, by building these multinational companies who throw peanuts at you from your own money because the savings is yours, is all going to see a reversal. The same single country reserve currency which has looted the valuation of the core sectors like agriculture, that the farmers have to suicide, looted the valuation of core sectors like manufacturing, food processing, logistics. These all sectors are now going to come back to their real valuations. So eventually in the geopolitical world, what this translates into is Europe standing at Russian borders, Russia standing at Chinese borders, China standing at Indian borders, India standing at Pakistan borders, Pakistan standing at Afghanistan borders, Afghanistan standing at Iran borders, Iran standing at Israel borders. This is going to reverse. Because to keep the reserve currency dollar, these artificial hotspots were created. Every country was told that your neighbor is a rogue country. We are going to sanction them and you continue with the US dollar. So one bucket of nation got dollars and arms, second bucket of nations got sanctions. Now that every country has realized this, the de-dollarization process has begun. And now since you do not require United States dollar to trade anymore, all the artificial hotspots which were created between nations are reversing. So Ukraine is going to reverse, POK is going to reverse, Taiwan is going to reverse, Iran, Israel will also reverse. Which means post 2030 we are going into a world of regional integration because the Western currencies have lost their purchasing power. So the only three corridors which are going to run the geoeconomics of the world, the IMEC corridor, the INSTC which is built via Chabar port of Iran, and the Chennai-Vladivostok corridor. And with the regional integration, it is not far. It is not far if you see a China, Russia, India gas pipeline as well. This is a possibility. So post 2030, we are going into a world where English language will absolutely have no role, right? Because that kind of a Western world order and Western construct will be scrapped out by the use of same technology which they boast about. A lot of companies will have options. Either they become a Bharatiya company or some Bharatiya businessmen will have some stake in it. Otherwise, they are not going to get access of the Indian market. This is the only geography left where the youngsters can earn their money and spend their money. All other countries have aged because of the Abrahamic economics model that they adopted. So this is the new world order which is coming, and we all have to prepare for this. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Ankit Shah. I wish we had more time to listen to these wonderful revolutionary words. And I can tell you that people like me tonight, are going to wake up for more time to think about the issues you have raised. Thank you very much. So now may I request Professor Vinit Naik for to share his ideas. We have known him, and many times, maybe some of you may not know it, he is very famous on the net as Bhikhu Matre. And once you read him, you will get to know, his revolutionary ideas and really thought-provoking ideas.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank all the dignitaries on the dais, all of you, the mature audience. To be honest, I'm not known to be a regular writer in any such kind of big platforms or otherwise novels or books. It was Siddharji who actually motivated me, that he said, Vinit, since you are used to write useless threads on Twitter, why don't you try writing an article for my book? I said, sir, that's a complete different platform, and writing in a book is a complete different platform. I don't know anything of that. He said, you try. And that is what makes him different from others, that he knows how to motivate. Thank you so much for that. I won't take much time. Ankit Shah ji has already spoken on the geopolitical changes which are likely to come up. I would just like to focus on one thing, that is the title of this particular book, Geopolitics Redefined. But more than that, there is one thing written below that is punctured truths and glamorized lies. This is the most important part in today's life. In 2024 elections also, now since you all are educated, mature audience, you know how the global lobby has played a big role in Bharat's internal elections. How the narratives were set, how the people were misled, how the truth was given as a lie, and how lies were glorified as truth. The media plays a great role in that. Social platforms play a bigger role in that. Nowadays, not many people are used to reading your mainstream media. They prefer social media because they get the condensed information in a shorter format and in a precise format. But now that social media is also being misused for this same purpose, the entire purpose of social media, the entire purpose for which people are there on social media, that has collapsed. So how to tackle this? We have entered in an era of information warfare. And to be honest, Bharat, as well as especially the Bharat's ruling government, is completely on the back foot in this information warfare. They don't know anything about how to tackle it, how the videos are edited, how the AI is used to give the wrong information, how the feelings of people are ignited by giving the wrong information. We have again entered in the era of gospel truth. कोई चीज 100 बार चिल्ला चिल्ला के, कोई झूठ 100 बार चिल्ला चिल्ला के बोलो तो 101वीं बार people start thinking कि नहीं यही सच है. Negativity spreads fast. आपने नोटिस किया होगा, if you enter in a hospital to meet someone, it's a 5 minutes visit. But in those particular 5 minutes, after those 5 minutes, you start getting the feeling that you yourself are sick. Because that particular aura is a negative aura. And that is how the negativity spreads fast. The positivity takes time. And I don't think that we have to say, now at least, that ultimately positivity wins. In these elections, we saw who won. The truth lost in spite of forming the government, and the lies won in spite of being in opposition. So this is the era of punctured truth and glamorized lies. And that is why it becomes very, very important that everyone, and this is my personal opinion, but I think many of you will agree with this, that the most unfortunate thing with Bharat is that people in Bharat are not ready and willing to read, which is the most important drawback of our society. We have graduates, we have postgraduates, we have everyone, we have got highly educated people. But are they really educated or are they just literate? Because beyond a certain particular sphere in which they have done their graduation, post-graduation, specialization, what do they know beyond that? Are they ready to find out the truth? And that is why this particular book is an attempt to take such particular glorified lies to the people and tell them what are the facts. So my sincere request to everyone will be, like when we go outside of this particular auditorium, we should try to make people understand, every person around us to understand that it is important to know the truth. It is not important to know the news, because the news are given with a particular motivated agenda. Then that can be done from the communist side, leftist side, that can be done from the rightist side. The media will give you only certain news, but what you have to understand is what is written between the lines. And that is what makes the difference between the lie and the truth, the agenda and the propaganda. So this is the most important thing in today's life for the entire generation of our nation, that if we want to grow up as a strong nation, first our foundation has to be based on truth and not what is being punctured truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Naik. I was thinking of speaking much later after our learned friend we have with us, Venus Upadhyay. I'm going to invite her, but just a minute before that, because just to be in continuity of what Professor Naik has said, I'll just give a very quick introduction to the chapter I have contributed. The chapter is How to Puncture China's Manufactured Truths, Narratives and Myths. Because he raised this issue, that's why I'm, compelled to discuss this chapter. My chapter is exactly on these lines. In this chapter, because my interest in China goes 50 years back when I started my journalism, and since then I have been sticking to it. My interest in China, Tibet, and other colonies of China has been continuous all these years. So my experience with China has helped me in identifying 10 or 11 such narratives which China has manufactured diligently over past many years, and now it wants the whole world to believe those narratives and wants to dictate the whole world on the basis of these narratives. Very quickly, I'll tell you, the kind of narratives. One is, they say one China policy. They say the People's Republic of China of today is the real China. The truth is very, very different. In 1912, when People's Republic of China became the first time in modern history a nation, China as a nation, before that, China was a fractured country. China was divided into a French China, which was occupied by the French, Portuguese China, British China, Japanese China, all these, there were so many parts occupied. It was only after 1912 that they became in history China first time. Before that, they were occupied most of the times by Mongols and Manchus. And after this, they occupied, in 1919, they occupied southern Mongolia. In 1945, they occupied Manchuria. In 1949, they occupied East Turkestan, which they call Xinjiang. In 1951, they occupied Tibet. And now this is called People's Republic of China, which they call one China policy. And they want you to believe it. They want you to be the integral part of your foreign policy. They say it was seamless succession of history. Today's China is. And the joke is, the Mongols who ruled China very ruthlessly In 2002, when I was in China on my self-assignment to study Tibet, the TV was announcing Genghis Khan as the great son of China. You know, the man who occupied China, they say he was great son of China. So whatever areas he occupied, China today claims they are China. So similarly, they say that Tibet, Xinjiang, South Mongolia, Hong Kong, they are internal matters and core interest of China. You know, the areas which they have occupied in presence of my generation and my father's generation, the whole world knows they want that they were integral part of China. Another is, they say that there are no human rights violation and no country should raise issue because we don't have human rights violation, and you have to believe it. So you can't send, United Nations cannot send their team inside China even today. They say we are 56 sisters. China is made of 56 nationalities. And the truth, statistical truth, according to the Chinese population data, is there is one race, Hans. 55 races are different other than non-Hans. Many of them are occupied. And do you know the total population today? 92+% of population are Hans. The rest of 55 nationalities are less than 8% because they have butchered them, assimilated them through forcible marriages or killings. And this is called the 56 sisters. BRI, they say, is a word gift. You know better than me. You know, it is the biggest colonial tool, how they have occupied so many parts of countries and their systems from within. And China has the art of drawing permanent line on water. You know, they have drawn a 9- or 11- line across around the South China Sea, and they claim within these lines everything is China. And that includes 2,000 kilometers away Philippines area also. They say this is China. So and then they say Indian border is a secondary issue. India must accept it as a non-important issue. Let us progress on other matters. So that is what they want India to believe. And the last one, which I have deliberately kept at the end, is they say that the institution of Dalai Lama, the reincarnation of Dalai Lama, is the copyright property of Communist Party of China. Their new law in 2007, which they call Order 5, it says, if you say it in simple language, no incarnate Lama, Avatari Lama, can take birth without a sealed approval on paper of the Communist Party of China. And so they say Dalai Lama's next incarnation is our copyright, is our property. So you raise the issue of narratives. I just wanted to add to this that, you know, powers like China, how they build up narratives and force the whole world to follow that. And we have today to puncture those narratives. And this book is dedicated in different ways. Now, I come to one of our very prominent writers, Venus Upadhyay, who is with us. She is a very prominent writer. In Epoch Times, we read her articles on so many issues, especially on China. Her understanding is really remarkable. And I recommend on the net, our friends, we should find out her writings. Venus Upadhyay, please come.
Thank you, everyone. For me, it's a very, very inspiring moment. And something great and amazing happened with me today. And I think I should share that before I talk about my contribution in the book. So I was a probably 10 or 11-year-old, and I am ethnically a Dogra girl. I'm from Jammu. And I used to write small stories, and my parents used to, send them to some magazines for publishing and all that. And so Doordarshan used to broadcast a summer vacation program called Chutti Chutti. So he's come. And and it so happened that I was invited. I think I was in 6th grade, so say about 10 and 11. And I was very shy and very timid, and my father used to always try to push me. And today I realized that there was one person who encouraged me in that show. And he was hosting the show. And while hosting the show, he introduced me as a choti si lekhika. I just remember these, 2 words from that day. And to my amazement, today I met that person after so long, Deepak Vohra ji. And it is so amazing. It is so, what I would say, life comes a 360-degree turn. It's like to share, to have a byline, to be writing in the same book as him. It's such an amazing thing. And so I'm amazed. I have that sense of amazement that how amazing life is. And, Doordarshan gave us a set of books that time. They were small books, story books. And I think you must have played a role in selecting those, They were books about the heroes and heroines of India, the warriors of India. And they were small books. They were in English, they were in Hindi, and they were about various facets of India. And they were my first library. And that particular moment played a very important role in shaping me as a writer. And I think it's a blessing that I've been able to come and meet him today and meet him in such an esteemed platform. So thank you so much, everyone. I've written about infrastructure, and I think you've got the book. I would not be taking more time here. And I just have one thing to say is that India's identity is unique to India. We have a unique history. We have a unique context. And everything that India faces ahead, everything that India plans, everything that India thinks about its growth and development, it has to be unique to its context. And that has been the key angle to my contribution to the book. Thank you so much.
So now we are reaching the concluding point of our today's event. May I request our friend Nalin Chandraji to please give a vote of thanks. Nalin Chandraji.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Vohra sir and esteemed guests here. Thank you for attending this event. This event was long overdue. We associated with ourselves first. It was our combined idea to write this book. And so many people came and put forth their ideas. And Siddharth sir, obviously, he led the group. And today, my contribution is also there. I have written particularly in aviation and in little bit of cricket, the sports which gives today India immense power and dictates geopolitical terms as well. And in aviation too, since aviation aircraft engineering has been my background, so I have mentioned so many things in the first book itself. And subsequent books are also in the pipeline. And we are coming with more such books. And most of you who, by some reason or the other, have not contributed so far, we will request you to please contribute at least one chapter, and we will compile all those contributions and come up with a new novel idea which gives India a power in strategies and in the coming days. I thank you once again for attending this event, and I hope more such events will come. And despite health issues of Siddharth, we are able to do this. And may request Mr. Subodh to read out the statement of Siddharth.
Thank you very much. Before reading the vote of thanks for Professor Siddharth ji, I would like to share my own experience with Professor Siddharth. He is the first person who popularized the subject, which was a dull subject of the geography in the civil services. He created a huge amount of the number of his students who cleared the exams, and today they are working as a joint secretary, and the directors or some ministries. So it's his contribution. He opened the door for the other teachers for the UPSC. I'm not going to take the name of but he's an opener batsman of the geography, and the following that he turned into the academics. So this is his contribution that we should not forget. Like, I hope in coming future, he keeps on bringing such kind of the book. His concept is very, very clear, very, very thorough, and the way he draws the path of the subject, he is an integrated, he's an organic thinker in the sense that he does not like in the standalone talks about the geography. He talks about related to the others. This particular book, the geopolitics, is a reflection of his thought process. He's talking about the geography as well as he's talking about the politics also. Now I'm going to read the message written by the Professor Siddharth ji. It has been a painful experience and suffering from the exceptionally rare neurological disorder Meige syndrome, which has often rendered me silent. Despite these difficulties, I feel blessed to have the trust and faith of my friends who have supported me during my most challenging times. I extended my deepest gratitude to Sri Pawan Agrawal, CEO of Prabhat Prakashan. It is largely through the Pawanji efforts that all my books launches have been successfully conducted. Without his support, booking and the Venus would not have been impossible. I am also grateful to Nalin Chandra, Hemant Bahari, and the leading real estate businessman for their unwavering support. My father figure, Sri B.L. Bohra and Sri Vikram Singh, have been the source of immense strength. Sri Bohra's weekly conversation have been crucial in helping me maintain my sanity. A special blessing from Sri Prakash Singh, the foremost advocate of the police reforms, have always been with me despite his personal challenges. I am thankful for the support of my classmates, including Rajat, renowned journalist, Shashank Priya, and a senior civil servant. I am also appreciate the immense cooperation of my students in the civil services, Nand Kumar, IAS 2009 batch, now the professor at Labasa, Kumar Vivek, IRS, now the PS2, the Finance Commission, and Vedant Ojha from Indian Corporate Service. Additionally, I acknowledge the support of Vinod Duhan and the Gopal Meena from the IS Bihar cadre. I must express my profound gratitude to the remarkable doctors like Sunil and Dr. Komal, whose healing hands have been instrumental in my journey. A special recognitions goes to Ankit, Komal, and Bhattacharya, whose assistance has been like the hands of God. I also thank all of my co-authors who have been always held me in the high esteem and have given me the immense sense of superiority. Lastly, I extend my sincere thanks to Vinit ji from the NewsX, Sonika ji and Raghavendra ji from the Kitab Mahal, whose cooperations has been made everything possible. Thanks you all for your unwavering support and for being a part of my journey. Thank you very much.